And now it's time for a little bit of culture and history. We each pick a queer Black history icon or moment or something to teach you the history that will soon be illegal. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to her name up so badly, but that's okay. I'm starting, my person is Stormé DeLarverie. DeLarverie. Okay, whatever. Listen, I'm trying. Omelette du fromage. And it could also be Storm, because I heard her pronounce her name Stormé DeLarverie. But then when somebody else was like Stormy, she was like, yeah, whatever. Sorry, remember that Nicki Minaj thing? Stormy! Okay, anyway. So Stormé DeLarverie was born in 1920. We do not know, she does not know her exact birthday because her mother was a Black domestic worker in a very rich, prominent white family's home. And her father...
Where was she born?
In New Orleans. She was born in New Orleans. Her father was a white wealthy guy, and she was never given a birth certificate because of miscegenation laws of the time. So her father sort of claimed her, maybe didn't claim her, but she was raised in New Orleans, and in the school she was like beat up, she was bullied, she was like injured so badly that her leg was up, and that's when her father decided to pay for her to get a fancy education. So she was still bullied. The white kids still bullied her, but whatever. So she was, it was, I'm not gonna say Mariah Carey, but you know what I mean. Anyway, so she decided to celebrate her birthday on December 24th. So that's when, on Christmas Eve.
She decided to be a Capricorn?
She decided to be Capricorn, yes. I mean, like, let's be real. She was a butch lesbian, so yes, she decided to be a Capricorn. So, as a teenager, she started jumping horses for the Ringling Brothers circus.
Oh.
Yes, she was jumping horses, which is real weird. But she was injured. She was injured in a fall off of a horse. About the age of 18, she was like, oh, I'm gay. What? So she was both biracial and androgynous. So her gender and her race, two of the hottest button topics, were things that she could move through very interestingly, right? So she dressed very butch. She kind of was like one of the progenitors of butch fashion for women, right? Of like, she would tailor men's clothes to fit her in a way that would work, and that was like a big, that was a big thing. So she was one of the first drag kings. And she joined a drag review called the Jewel Box Review, from 1955 to 1969.
I like that name, Jewel Box.
Yes, they were like they were North America's first racially integrated drag review. What? Okay. Right? And so they would do the Apollo, they would tour, and they would do mixed race audience. So not only was the drag review mixed race, but the audiences were mixed race, which was like kind of a big thing because it was during segregation.
Right.
And she would sing as a baritone. I'm going to try to clip in some of her singing in here. I thought
you were about to say, I'm going to try to do
I'm going to do her singing. No, but she had if you hear her voice, you're like, whoa. Like, she had like a really beautiful baritone. And so she would be the MC of the drag review, and they would do this thing where they would bring out all the performers, and everybody would be like, and they would be like, choose who the girl is. Like, to guess who the girl is. And so, and it would be revealed that she was the girl. And like, what? It's crazy. But she said it was so hard for her to move through these spaces because at the time it was illegal. You had to have at least 3 items of clothing that represented the gender assigned at birth. So she was dressing femme. When she first started singing, she would sing in her deep baritone voice, and she was dressed very femme. And she would walk. Then she would, in her personal life, dress mask. And then in the streets, she would dress femme. And she was picked up twice because people thought she was a drag queen. So she was arrested twice for being a drag queen, trying to dress femme. So, she would do a musical number called A Surprise with a Song, right? So she would be wearing her suit and she'd do her mustache, and then she would sing like Dinah Washington, who she knew, and Billie Holiday and stuff, right? And so like she kind of became the like first big drag king like
that's really
thing,
cool,
right? So it was kind of like a big historic precedent. So anyway, then she met this woman, Diana. She lived as her partner for about 25 years. Diane Arbus also took a lot of photographs of her. So you probably see the photographs of her. They're pretty famous. Of her just like in men's clothes. So anyway, then 1969, June of 1969, what happened then? Stonewall. No, sorry. Because they took the T out. It's not funny. So Stonewall happened. And people say, so this is the thing. People say that she was the one who threw the first punch at Stonewall. Mm-hmm. So people say, so like the story is, you ever hear those stories about a lesbian was handcuffed and complained about her handcuffs being too tight, and a cop hit her and she punched him back, right? People say that was her. She says, I think that was me. And then another time she was like, no, it wasn't me. It was someone else, but I'm not going to say who. So it's like, it's disputed history. To be fair, it was a massive riot. So people kind of like weren't taking notes. But she was there and she was arrested during Stonewall. And she was like taken in the back of a car, not a car, the paddy wagon. So whatever. So during the Stonewall uprising, she was like kind of like an icon, and she kind of like patrolled the streets. She was like called the guardian of lesbians in the village. So she would patrol the streets and she'd make sure nobody was with the lesbians, and she would make sure nobody was with the gay people, and like, you know, she was also a bouncer at Cubbyhole.
Oh.
Right?
That's really good.
What? But she said she didn't like the word bouncer. She was like, I take care of my baby girls. That was the thing that she said. They would say she was like a gay superhero. Oh, that's cool. Right? So she would fuck you up. Like, if you came around, because people would come around to the village and try to fuck with gay people. And if you did that, you would see Stormy, and she would fuck you up. So she lived at the Chelsea Hotel, and she was like, you know the Chelsea Hotel, right? Mm-hmm. Very famous, all the artists and stuff. That's where Sid and Nancy, where Sid stabbed Nancy, all that stuff. So she lived at the Chelsea Hotel. She was kind of an icon. A lot of this information I got from, there was a PBS show when I was a kid called In the Life. And it had like a lot of so they interviewed her for In the Life. She was a bouncer at night, but during the day, she was also a security guard, and she organized and did stuff for like abused women and children. She like did a lot of fundraising for them. She was just like kind of amazing. In her later years, she did suffer from dementia. So Stonewall happened. She was a big part of that, the continuous riots. A month after Stonewall, her partner, Diana, passed away. Oh. And she carried a picture of her with her, like, all her life of Diana. So there were things that she always remembered, and some of it was, like, you know, Diana. It was remembering the stuff during the Jewel Box review, but a lot of that was gone in her later years. So she was in a nursing home from 2010 to 2014 when she passed away of a heart attack in her sleep. And there was a big funeral held at the Greenwich Village funeral home, and she was recognized at the Stonewall National Monument, or I guess the Stonewall National Monument. She was recognized when they unveiled the Stonewall National Monument as one of the inaugural 50 pioneers, trailblazers, and heroes. When asked about why she organized and did so much work for the LGBTQ community, she said, somebody has to care. People say, why do you still do that? I said, it's very simple. If people didn't care about me when I was growing up, with my mother being black, raised in the South, I said, I wouldn't be here. That's really, you know what it is. And so, like, it's another, like, working class, iconic, butch, lesbian hero, right? Like, we hear so many bad things about light-skinned studs. And quite frankly, she is an iconic light-skinned stud. And so we thank you, rest in peace and power, to the iconic Stormé DeLarverie.
Yay! I like that.